share my screen. Is it visible, my screen?
Yes.
So in the last class, we finished the first process of stakeholder management. The name of the process was identify stakeholders. And the main job of the process was two things, right? Two aspects. One is identifying all possible stakeholders of the project. That can be individual, that can be group, and that can be institutions. And at the same time, second aspect is identifying their expectation, requirement, influence, power, all these things in project that you have to also identify. So identifying doesn't mean just only identifying the stakeholders. It also means identifying all the expectations, requirements, influence, and power of the stakeholders on the project. So this is a big issue. The more you can understand your stakeholders, the more it will be easy for you to manage the project. So now we will start with plan stakeholder engagement. That means we have identified all the stakeholders and their expectations. Now what we will do, our focus will be how do we engage those stakeholders? What will be our plan? So we are now in this process, plan stakeholder engagement. We have done all the hard work. All the stakeholders are already in the stakeholder register and their expectation also captured in the stakeholder register. Now we will create a plan for each stakeholder. How do we engage them throughout the project at different places at different time as and when required. All right. And in different situations, different time as a project manager, project management team, I have also need to involve with the stakeholders. So that thing we'll do in plan stakeholder engagement. All right. So if we can remember what we did in the stakeholder register, there are two categories of information, right? First one is actually contact type information, and second one is the expectations, requirements, power, and influence. And last column was category. Is this a stakeholder internal stakeholder or external stakeholder? You can categorize as per your need, or you can categorize like this: top priority, middle priority, or low priority, or the relation between the stakeholders, top down or bottom up, or PR. So any kind of categorization you can do. So these are the three categories of columns in the. Let me change the color. In the stakeholder register table, right? So now what we'll do, now we actually add another two column. One column will be strategy. How we want to manage our stakeholders, engage our stakeholders, that is strategy. And in the last class, we have talked about and discussed about stakeholder mapping. Can you remember stakeholder mapping? 4 quadrant. So those who have highest influence, highest power, we set a strategy to manage this stakeholder as manage closely, right? And in this quadrant, just monitor. And this quadrant, we set what strategy? Can anyone say what strategy we set here in this quadrant? Keep informed, right? Keep informed most probably.
স্ট্র্যাটেজি বলতে স্যার যতটুকু বোঝায় যে বলবো স্যার
শাহিন জি
স্ট্র্যাটেজি কি সেটা জিজ্ঞেস করছেন স্যার
হ্যাঁ 4 strategies. This one is managed closely.
জি স্যার
Right? And this
স্ট্র্যাটেজি
was
হচ্ছে স্যার কোনো একটা আমি প্ল্যান করছি, সেই প্ল্যানটা
সাউন্ড কোথায় পাচ্ছি না আমরা শাহিনের কাছ থেকে, ডিস্টার্ব হচ্ছে।
নেটওয়ার্ক প্রবলেম স্যার।
Okay. All right. So we have talked about these strategies. So strategies mean actually a broad category of strategy, right? So we have to keep informed these quadrant stakeholders. So in this column, we will write the strategies, whether these stakeholders we need to keep informed or manage closely. And in the fourth column, we have to write down all the action plans to meet those strategy, to involve those stakeholders. So maybe have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 actions we will plan here to engage one particular stakeholder. So we can use the same table by extending the columns like strategy to manage the stakeholders and also the action plans, what we need to do to involve the stakeholders in different important points of project life cycle. So that thing actually we will do in plan stakeholder engagement. So this is the high level concept of doing this process. Now let's dig deeper. Okay. So that thing actually mentioned here, why you are going to do plan stakeholder engagement process. So we have to do the identification. Now we are doing the planning, strategy and action plan. So what are the tools we will use and what will be our inputs? So let's discuss. Okay, so see, in this process, only one output, a stakeholder engagement plan, right? And as I mentioned earlier, you can just extend the stakeholder registered document and you can include this stakeholder engagement plan with extra columns. Or you can write another document, how you will going to manage the stakeholders. So it will up to you. So for simplicity, you can just use the stakeholder register and extend some columns and where you can write the stakeholder engagement plan for each stakeholders. Okay, so our target is to develop the stakeholder engagement plan. So what we will need, what will be the inputs? First one is project charter. So that will be our one input. Then resource management plan. Resource management plan means what? We are talking about stakeholder engagement. So resource means this resource management plan actually talking about the resources, human resource, people resource or team resource, HR resource or team resource or people resource, all are actually planned in resource management plan. This we'll see in the resource management chapter, chapter number 9. We'll see how resource management plan will be created in this knowledge area. So resource management plan, what does it do? This actually will get all the information of the resources which we need for our project. And now here in this process, we are talking about only the people resource or team resource or HR resource, not other material, because material is nothing to do with the plan stakeholder engagement. Material is not a stakeholder. Then communications management plan. So communication management plan, we will talk about this on chapter number 10, project communication management. So communication management plan consists of what? Mainly when, who, how, in which format, which frequency we will communicate with the stakeholders. That actually planned in communication management plan. So this stakeholder engagement plan and communication management plan actually goes hands in hand. And we have to do actually together because we are communicating with whom? The stakeholders. So these two plan actually will work closely with each other. Then risk management plan. So this plan actually we will see in detail in risk chapter. So this we need to consider because there can be a lot of risks generated from the stakeholders also. All right, and for risk management, sometimes we will use third-party vendors or supplier to handle risks, to manage risks. So that planning will help you to identify the stakeholders for whom you have to plan the engagement plan. Then project documents you need to use, assumption log. Can anyone say, can anyone tell where this assumption log is created? Can anyone say where assumption log is created? In which process? Created means which process? চার্টার আমরা কোথায় তৈরি করছি? চার্টার কোন প্রসেসের থ্রুতে আমরা চার্টার তৈরি করছি?
document.
Project charter is created by which process?
Business document.
No, I am asking about process.
Initiation.
Initiation is not a process.
Process
That
group.
is process group. I am asking about process. Which process created this process chapter? So far we have only seen two processes so far, right? One is develop project charter, right?
Yes.
Another one what? Identify stakeholders. So only these process we have seen so far. So I am actually asking about those two known processes. So develop project charter, we have created project charter from develop project charter, no?
Yes.
So this is the name I am looking for. So project charter was created in develop project charter process. This is very important. You have to understand which process create which output. Not all the output you need to understand, but main output you have to understand. Which process create which output. So develop project charter, the name is also meaning that its responsibility is to develop or create project charter. So I was asking which process created project charter. So develop project charter process, create project charter. And my second question is assumption log. This project document created by which project? Which process? Can anyone say? Can anyone tell me? Assumption log is created in which process?
Develop project charter.
Right. In develop project charter, there are actually two outputs. One was project charter, second one was assumption log. Right. Okay, change log. So change log we have not seen actually. If there is any change comes at any time in the project life cycle, you have to log or record that change in this document. That is known as change log document. Every change, any kind of change you see in project, that you have to capture here in change log. So this document actually will be created in perform integrated change control process. So I'm not talking about that because we will talk about that in the last class or other classes. Issue log, it is actually a known document. Any issues arise in project, that issue should be captured in the issue log. Project schedule means the project time actually, which activity or which work package we will do. So that project schedule we need to consider when we are planning a stakeholder engagement. This input, how it will help us, because this actually will tell us, and not all the stakeholders will work throughout the project. Maybe some stakeholders will work or available in the first quarter of the project. Some will be involved in the last phase of the project. So that this project schedule will help you to understand what kind of stakeholders who are actually going to involve in which phases or time of the project. So accordingly, you have to make plan for engaging them. Risk register. So that is actually talking about risks. If there is any risk, most of the organizations actually they try to involve third party. For example, insurance, eh, project insurance or performance guarantee. All these things are actually one kind of risk management, right? So when you are doing this, so we are actually involving third party. When you are talking about third party means any vendor or supplier or any expert people, expert person, expert individual. So that means we are talking about stakeholders. So our plan is to make plan for them, how we can engage them, you can involve them and manage them. So we are actually considering risk register as input. So what I am actually trying to explain. I am trying to explain why all these inputs are required for this stakeholder engagement plan. Fourth, stakeholder register. So now this is another simple question. Why we have created a stakeholder register? Why? হ্যাঁ মৌ বলেন কোথায় আমরা তৈরি করছি স্টেকহোল্ডার রেজিস্টার মনে আছে আমরা আগের প্রসেসে কি করলাম না লাস্ট প্রসেসে কি করলাম আমরা
Identify stakeholders.
হ্যাঁ সো আইডেন্টিফাই স্টেকহোল্ডারের আউটপুট কি ছিল স্টেকহোল্ডার রেজিস্টার তাই না in this document we have compiled, we have captured, we have gathered all the information related to stakeholders. So we have created this stakeholder register in the last process, identify stakeholder. So this is the main. Please, if you have hard copy of PMBOK or hard copy of my presentation slide, you should actually highlight this one. So this is the main input here, because using this stakeholder register, you will create the engagement plan. All right. Number 4 is agreements, contract, or MAU, or anything. If you have any contract, any agreement with any third party for your project, so their name should be here. And for them, you have to also plan in a stakeholder engagement plan. So that's why you are including agreements. 5 and 6. Always remember, in all the planning process, 5 and 6 is mandatory. You will see everywhere. These two will be as input. Why these are input? Because this will help you. This will give you guideline. If there is any enterprise environmental requirements, any impact on your project, influence on your project, or if you have any organizational process asset that actually having any impact on your on this process, plan stakeholder engagement. So for example, from organizational process asset, we can use a stakeholder engagement plan as a template, which we might use in the last project or in the past. So that can help us from our organizational process asset. So please remember these two things. In every planning process, there are 24 processes. Everywhere you will see these two as input. Because when you are doing planning, you should take take consideration of all the influences of these two category of factors. All right. So what are the tools we are using? Expert judgment is a common tool. In mostly all 24 planning process, you will see expert judgment, right? Because who actually do plan? Those who are expert, they actually do the plan. So in planning process, everywhere you will see expert judgment is a common tool. Data gathering means we are doing planning, so we are going to trying to collect data, and we can use benchmarking. Benchmarking means if there is any standard within the market, within the commercial arena, or in which industry you are working, if there is any standard of stakeholder engagement plan, so that you can use for your project also, taking that as a reference. Then data analysis, you have to do analysis with which assumption and constraint analysis. That's why actually we have took assumption log. So that assumption log we can analyze to identify if is there any hints of how to engage our stakeholders. So that will help us. Root cause analysis. This tool we will see again and again in different processes. Can anyone say? We can say it like this: RCA, right? Root cause analysis. What does it mean? What does it mean by root cause analysis? Root cause analysis. That root canal করছেন কেউ? Root canal. So what is root cause analysis and why it is required? Any suggestion? Satwan?
রুট কোড অ্যানালাইসিস কি এরকম স্যার? প্রাইমারি ডেটা অ্যানালাইসিস।
এটা কি হচ্ছে আর কি, যে মানে স্টেক হোল্ডারটা অ্যাকচুয়ালি কি কারণে স্টেক হোল্ডার, মানে তার ইন্টারেস্টটা কিসে, এরকম কিছু অ্যানালাইসিস করা।
মানে রুট কজ আমরা অনেক সময় প্রজেক্টে দেখতে পাই, জেনারেলি sometimes we see that you are doing lot of effort, you are giving lot of effort to engage your stakeholders, right? Or trying to get their support. You are doing lot of things, lot of actions you are taking, but that stakeholder is not helping you, right? You have tried in different ways, but that person is not helping you. That means actually what happened, we have not able to identify the root cause, why he actually not giving support to us. So if you can identify the root cause, then if you can take action according to that root cause, then you can easily involve him, right? Like a disease, if you don't know the root cause of the disease, and that's why actually nowadays doctors give lot of diagnosis and investigations. When you will go to the doctors, they will give lot of investigations. Why? Because they need to understand what is the root cause. That's why you're having this problem. So if they don't know the root cause, then actually what will happen? So they cannot actually give you the proper treatment. So that is the root cause. We are taking a lot of effort, giving a lot of effort, but we are not getting support from the stakeholders. That means there is something behind the scene, or something is there which we are not actually addressing. So we have to address that root cause. All right. So that is very important. If you see that one person is not helping, or one institution is not helping you, then you have to actually find out the root cause, and you have to remove that root cause. Then most probably you will get the support. Decision making. So if there is any conflict, any decision making scenario happens, condition happens, then you can use this technique, prioritization or ranking. All right, maybe there are 5 ideas you have generated to engage the stakeholders. So most probably you cannot use all 5. So you will rank these 5, which 2 or 3 we will apply for this particular stakeholder. So that is actually ranking. Data representation. Can you remember when you are talking about representation, that means there will be some graphical presentation. So this tool actually graphical tool. So what is mind mapping? Have you heard about this or used this mind mapping?
Yes, sir. I use this.
Okay. So
Mind
for
map
example,
কোনো কিছু কাজ করার জন্য ওর সাথে কি কি ইনভলভ আছে সেগুলা সাথে ইয়ে করে রাখো, যেটার পর আমি এটা করা উচিত এরকম।
Right. So say we are analyzing stakeholders. So say put a stakeholder name here, say BSTI. BSTI. So now we can, this is BSTI. Now we can mind map. What are the requirements of BSTI? They ask for documentation. So you are branch outing the idea, the need of BSTI. You are trying to identify of this stakeholders need. So you are branching out. It will require a lot of documentation. Then maybe it will ask for investigation results. Then if you branch out, there will be some cost involved, because they will test most probably your product or your samples, they will charge you. So there will be a fee involved, right? So, and maybe they will ask for presentation or something. So we are branching out the need of the stakeholder. Again, this documentation we can branch out more. Maybe some documentation related to company legal documents. Another is related to products. Another is related to project documents. So this way, when you are branching out one idea, then when you are moving one branch, then you will get more detail. When you are branching the documentation, you are getting more detail. Which kind of documentation is this documentation means. So this way, you can actually identify the stakeholders' expectation, or how we will going to manage the stakeholder. What are the needs of the stakeholders? So mind mapping tool will be used in different processes. Most probably in 4 or 5 processes, we'll see this same tool, mind mapping. So mind mapping is the idea you have to keep in the middle. Then you have to branch out the idea so that you can understand the idea more detail. All right. So, and this is actually drawn like this. A sketch like this. Idea will be at the center, and sub ideas will be branch out. And if you do this is branch out this one, then maybe again branch will be out for this idea. Then say 1, 2, 3. You can again branch out not only 3, 4, 5, 6. Anything can happen. So main idea will be at the middle, and we'll be branching out the idea into different smaller parts to understand more detail. So this is known as mind mapping. So this is a great tool to mainly use for idea generation. That's why it is mind mapping. It is tied to what is in your mind. So it is a great idea generation tool used globally. Next is stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. This is very important. You will get 1, 2 questions in the exam. Why? Because this is the first. This tool is mentioned in PMBOK. Earlier in no versions it was available. So what is a stakeholder engagement assessment matrix? That I will explain in the later slides. All right. So I will explain this later on, and you will get 1, 2 questions from this. So this is also an interesting tool. You will see this is an interesting tool for your stakeholders, stakeholder engagement and stakeholder planning. So I think you understand my approach. I am actually trying to explain all the inputs to techniques and output in this first slide. And this is actually known as ITTO chart, right? Plan stakeholder engagement, ITTO chart or table. So here actually I am trying to explain everything, but if there is any point need to discuss in detail, that I will discuss in later slides. But for everything in PMBOK, you will see greater detail, and here also in presentation slide, you will see detail. All right, so I will actually see especially the stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. So this one, stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. So let's see, there are 5 levels. There are 5 levels you can actually classify your stakeholder engagement. These are engagement levels. One is unaware. Unaware means he is not having any knowledge about the project that is going on. So when you will identify stakeholders, what we have tried actually, we have tried to identify all the stakeholders of the project. So you will see a lot of stakeholders who are actually unaware of the situation, unaware of the project. Some stakeholder you will find resistant, negative stakeholder. They will protect you. They will create impediment for your project. Some stakeholder will be neutral. Or they will sit in the middle. They are not positive. They are not negative. Supportive. Some stakeholders you will get supportive. They will try to help you. When you will ask for any information, they will provide you. And some stakeholders you will get who will be in leading engagement level. What is leading engagement level? That means he is very, very, very positive stakeholder. At any situation, he will try to help utmost. As per his ability, he will try to help you. So those guys are actually leading. Before saying anything, they will try to help you. So you are going to collect some documents from a department. So the leading people, they will actually already prepare the documents for you. And when you go, they will explain and hand over the documents to you. So these guys are actually leading stakeholder engagement. They are actually in their leading stakeholder engagement level. So my question is, as a project manager, what your expectation? Means your stakeholders, in which level you want your stakeholder to be? In which level?
Leading.
Leading, right? So if we can get the stakeholders who are actually in this stage, supportive and leading, so this will be better for our project, right? So let's see what actually this assessment matrix. When we say matrix, matrix, there are two matrix term actually. Huh? One is matrix. One is matrix. Matrix means KPI, yeah? Equal to KPI. We talk about this in the first chapter, project success measures. Then we talk about matrix. But now you are talking about matrix. KPI, yeah? Any success criteria. That can be SMART, that can be KPI or any balance scorecard. Matrix means, matrix can be different type. So generally, simplest way of representing a matrix is a table, two-dimensional table. So let me explain in the next slide what is actually assessment matrix. See this table? Can you see? So what we are seeing here, these are the list of the stakeholders that we have identified. For simplicity, we have taken 3 stakeholders, stakeholder 1, 2, 3. And at the top, we have written unaware, the 5 levels, resistance, neutral, supportive, and leading. All right. So when we are analyzing using this assessment table, what we are doing, we are trying to understand this stakeholder one where he is actually now exist. C means current engagement level. You see, C means current engagement level. But to make the project successful, we actually need him to be supportive here. D means desired engagement. To make the project successful, we need this guy to be supportive. That means there are a lot of gap, right? He is unaware. So we have to give a lot of effort to make him supportive. Stakeholder 2, see? Stakeholder 2 is at neutral stage. That means if we can give some effort, we can make him in this level, our desired level. And the stakeholder 3, you see, can you explain what does it mean by this? D and C in the same place. What does it mean? Can anyone give me example, explanation? For stakeholder 3, we are seeing D and C is at the same column, that is supportive column. What does it mean? Nasir bhai?
এটা দেখা হয়নি।
আচ্ছা, না এখন আমি তো ব্যাখ্যা করলাম পরে কিছু বোঝা গেছে? প্রথম দুইটা বুঝতে পারছেন?
আমার কাছে যেটা মনে হচ্ছে কিছু সময় সে নিউট্রাল থাকে বা আবার যখন সে নিউট্রাল ভূমিকা পালন করে আবার সাপোর্টিভ ভূমিকা পালন করে, এরকম কিছু কি?
না, সে কি নিউট্রালে আছে? কিছু তো নেই। ভাই আরো একটু বলেন দেখি।
এই পার্টিকুলার স্টেকহোল্ডারটা মানে টেন্টেটিভ সিচুয়েশনাল।
No, মানে our expectation for this stakeholder is we need he or she should be at supportive level. All right, our expectation. And what we are seeing after analyzing, he is already in supportive level. Have you understood? After analyzing, we have found that he is already at this level. So for this stakeholder, maybe we need not to give that much effort like this guy, because he is already at supportive mode. Okay.
So what is the reason behind putting D and C both in the supporting table?
Our expectation was he should be, D means what? Desired engagement. Our desired engagement is supportive. And after analyzing, we have found that he is already in supportive mode.
Okay.
So that means what? That means most probably for this guy, less effort will be required. Or already he's supportive, so no effort is required. He will help us. But these two guys, you see, lot of effort we need to give to make them supportive at least. All right. And if you get someone in leading stage, that is actually most effective for your project. All right. So this is the explanation of this assessment table, and please remember you will get 1-2 questions from this table. So you can understand this. Even sometimes PMI and PMP exam, you may see this table with maybe any additional another column, and they will provide CD somewhere else, and they will actually ask questions, and whether you understand the concept or not, based on that, they actually try to understand your concept of understanding. So concept is very important in PMP exam. No memorization is required. No memorization is required. Concept, concept, concept. All right, so finally, only one output from this process is stakeholder engagement plan. All right. So the action plans, what we have to do for engaging the stakeholders. That action plan we have to write in a stakeholder engagement plan. All right, and most of these action plans will be communication actually. Communication through email, asking or requesting him or involving him in different meetings, in different review sessions, requirement gathering sessions. The more you will communicate with him, more you will involve the stakeholder, then actually he will help you or he will be engaged with you. Okay, so our planning is done. Now, where we are going? We're going the third process, manage stakeholder engagement. So if you see the name, we have done the plan. Manage stakeholder engagement means our planning is done. Manage stakeholder engagement. Is it actually under which process group? Can anyone remember? Manage stakeholder engagement is under which process group? So this is in initiation process group, right? This process. Plan in which process group? Planning process group. Manage stakeholder engagement under which process group?
Execution.
Execution. And this one under monitoring and
Controlling.
Controlling. So that means this process, the main focus of this process is the plan we have developed. Now we have to execute that plan. A lot of time what we do a lot of planning, but we don't or never execute the plan. So then if you plan, but if you don't execute, then is it add any value to the project? No. So you have planned, you have given a lot of effort to make the plan for each stakeholder, how you are going to involve them in the project. Now, as a project manager, project management team, your responsibility is to execute that plan. That execution is known as manage stakeholder engagement. All right. So the planning is done. Now in execution, your responsibility as a project manager is to execute all the plan as per the planning stakeholder engagement plan. All right. So this is the responsibility of this process. Okay. So let's see what are the See, so what are the responsibility of this process? Engaging stakeholders at appropriate stages to obtain or confirm their commitment as per the engagement plan, making stakeholder expectation through negotiation and communication, addressing potential concerns, clarifying and resolving issues that have been identified related to stakeholders. So all these are the scope of this process, manage stakeholder engagement. All are actually following the plan and executing as per the requirement of the stakeholders. And please remember, this process is performed throughout the project, right? You have to manage your stakeholders throughout the project. Otherwise, it is not possible to make your project successful. It is not that you will only identify and manage your stakeholders at the early stage of the project. At any time you require, you need to involve your stakeholders. You have to manage your stakeholders. Okay. So let's see what are the inputs. So one input, what is the main input actually? There are two main inputs here. Can anyone tell me? There are a lot of inputs you are saying. Maybe 8, 9 inputs are there. Who can tell me what are the main inputs for this process? Without that, we cannot do this managed stakeholder engagement thing. Can anyone tell me what are the two inputs that is mandatory for this process?
Stakeholder register
Stakeholder
and
engagement.
stakeholder.
Right, fine. So one is a stakeholder engagement plan that we just created. We have to follow that, and with whom you will follow. This stakeholder register will help that, right? So these two are the main inputs. All right, so you have to understand in every process there you will see lot of inputs, but
Hello.
among those inputs or outputs, there are you have to understand clearly, and you have to remember that, not memorize, remember.
নেটটা প্রবলেম করতেছে কথা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না, কথা কেটে কেটে আসতেছে।
এখন কি শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ, এখন শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
এখন শোনা যাচ্ছে না?
হ্যাঁ,
আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। So these two are actually the main input. So without this, actually, you cannot manage stakeholder engagement process. All right. So we will follow the planning and we execute. And these other inputs will help us. All right. Other inputs will help us. Okay. Then, what are the tools we should use? Expert judgment we have to use because we are dealing with the stakeholders. So we have to apply our expert judgment. And second is communication skills. See, stakeholder engagement is stakeholder management and communication management actually closely related. So you have to have good communication skill, otherwise you cannot manage stakeholders. That is true for every project. And can you remember I mentioned earlier in the role of the project manager, 90% of project manager is what? 90% of project manager's time is what? Communication. So if you are not a good communicator, you cannot actually be a good project manager. So communication is the key. Communication is the key, right? So you have to take feedback whether your engagement plan is working or not. So that's why under communication skill, the main technique you will use, you have to take feedback from your stakeholders or other stakeholders or in different sources, whether all your efforts are effective or not. Otherwise, you have to replan. You have to update your plan. It will not work. So that was you will have to take feedback. And another very important thing, as you are dealing with stakeholders, that means people. When you're dealing with people, you have to use your interpersonal, and interpersonal means soft skill and team skills, because you are dealing with the team. So conflict management, lot of conflict will arise. As a project manager, you have to know how to handle with the conflicts. All right, so we'll talk about detail the conflict management technique in resource chapter, chapter number 9, resource management chapter. So I think you already know in the industry, everywhere you will see a lot of training related to soft skill, and conflict management is another soft skill that actually everyone need to learn when you are going to work in a team. So that is actually conflict management. Cultural awareness. What does it relate to? Cultural awareness. What does it mean? So in your team, multicultural people will be there, right? That I mentioned in the first class. Multicultural, different religion, different region, different language. So that cultural awareness you should have. Otherwise, you cannot work with your team. You cannot be a team player. So you have to understand other culture and respect other cultures. All right. So that thing is very important. Not only in project management, everywhere this is very important, very critical. All right, respecting other cultures. Negotiation. Yeah. So a lot of time you have to negotiate for different reasons, different causes with your stakeholders. So that is actually negotiation. Observational conversation. Not always everyone will talk with you. Right? That is conversation. You can talk with people. You can do conversation with the stakeholders to understand why you are doing this. This is actually a tool. This is a manage stakeholder engagement technique actually. So when you talk with people, when you আমরা বাংলায় বলি আড্ডা, তাই না? প্রজেক্টে আড্ডাও কিন্তু খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট, যে আপনি মাঝে মাঝে আড্ডা দিবেন। That is also very important. So that is actually conversation, and also this can help you to understand the engagement level of your stakeholders. All right. So that can be formal conversation, that can be informal conversation. Maybe when you are moving in it through a lift, at that time you can also talk with your team members or other stakeholders informal. So that is conversation. And also you have to observe. You have to be very good observer. What is happening? You are working with your stakeholders. You are trying a lot of things, but whether that stakeholder is with you or not. So you have to be a good observer, and you have to understand. Political awareness, very critical, right? This political awareness not actually related to country only. I earlier mentioned, this is also about the organization's culture, politics. You have to understand organizational politics also. All right. And you have to behave, you have to engage with the stakeholders according to the political awareness. So you have to keep your eye open. All right. Keep your eye open. What is happening in the organization? Who are in the which side? So that you have to understand. Otherwise, maybe you will tell a simple thing to someone that may create disaster, right? So that you have to understand. That is political awareness. What is ground rules? Ground rules is very, very important. Ground rules or team agreement. We can simply say this as team agreement. What is team agreement? Team agreement, for example, in this class where I am actually teaching you, you are listening, you are asking me questions. So if we set a team agreement within this team, then what can be in our agreement? One can be like this: when we will be in the class, we have to join in the class timely, on time, number 1. Number 2, your mobile phone will be switched off. Number 3, your video should be open always throughout the class. All right. And If you have any query, any questions, you can raise your hand or you can ask any question to me at any time. So these are the agreements we can write. That means what are the attitude, behavior, actions that is actually we need to follow when we are working in a team. All right, that is actually ground rules or team agreement. And this team agreement should be created by everyone. You have to involve everyone to create the team agreement so that everyone agree and they follow the team agreement throughout the project. So what is the benefit of ground rules of team agreement? The main benefit is actually so a lot of conflict and misunderstanding will be reduced if you create the ground rules, create the team agreement involving every one of the team, not as a project manager you have created and you have tried to impose. No, that will not actually work. So you have to involve your team to develop the team agreement. All right. So this is the ground rules. So all these things we are doing why? Because we are trying to manage our stakeholders and manage their engagement. And we have to do a lot of meetings. That is actually known as project meetings. So every meeting, we have to involve the stakeholders. There are some techniques of meeting management that I will discuss in communication management. But here, you have to understand in meetings, sometimes what we do, the people, those are not required in the meeting, we just invite in the meeting them. So that should be from now on, we should avoid that. The people we need in the meeting, only those people should be attending the meeting. And sometimes another things happen in the meeting. The most critical stakeholder, most important stakeholder, without whom this meeting will not be successful, sometimes we forgot to involve him. So when you are doing a meeting, we have to ensure, 100% ensure that guy, that stakeholder is attending in the meeting. Otherwise, no meaning of doing that meeting. All right, so these are the actually rules to make your meetings more successful, more effective. All right, so what is the output? There are a lot of outputs, but main output is change request. When actually change comes, when you are going to at planning, change will not come. Just we are doing planning. But when we are executing, then we'll see the gaps. All right, whether there is gap, where the planning is working or not. Is there any need of improving that plan, updating the plan, or whether the plan is effective or not? What can we do so that our plan can be effective? So those are the actually change requests. All right. So in change request, you will actually find out whether the planning is effective, whether the stakeholders are engaged, involved with us. Is there any gap? So that analysis you have to do. And if any change is required, then this change request will actually update what? Mainly plan engagement, stakeholder engagement. Number one. Number two is also identify stakeholders. Maybe in this situation, when you are going to execute, maybe you can find that there are a lot of stakeholders that you have failed to identify at the early stage. And Asal Bhai, but you were asking. So at that time, actually, you can, that change request can be helpful. Then identify stakeholder and plan engagement. Stakeholder engagement can be in the second iteration. This change request will fire up the second iteration of those two processes. And generally, the inputs we take here, communication management plan. After this process, if there is any update required, then we can do this. So that's why project management plan updates, right? And stakeholder engagement plan, if you see we need to update, then this stakeholder engagement plan will be updated here. And change log. If there is any change, that change will taken as input that we need to update. Similarly, issue log, lesson learned register. That means so far what we have learned, we have to record that in our lesson learned register. This is very important concept. At any time you get any new knowledge that will be helpful for your this project, this phase or this iteration you have to capture in your lesson learned register, so that that can be helpful for your next phase, next project, or next iteration. At any time you get new effective knowledge that you need to use in your project, then you have to capture that in the lesson learned register. So this is the thing. At stakeholder register C, we have taken it as input bar. Now here it is output, updated. That means if there is any stakeholder involved, or you have found out new stakeholders, then you have to involve that stakeholder here. So this is it. Now see detail. I think I have explained everything. In this slide, you will see detail what I have already talked. So change log, every change you have to capture here. And when you are logging change, so change, we will talk a lot of things about change. So when there is any change arise in your project, you have to find out, analyze what is the impact of this change in respect of cost, in respect of time, and also on risk and resources. So those are the things we have to analyze before doing the change. All right, so I think this process is done. Last process is monitor stakeholder engagement. Monitor stakeholder engagement. So you see, we are talking about monitor stakeholder engagement. What does it mean? This one. So let me explain the main focus of this process. Main focus is you have to actually check whether all the plan that you planned in plan stakeholder engagement process, that is plan stakeholder engagement plan, whether fully you have executed that in managed stakeholder engagement or not. So that you need to monitor, control, ensure. If you see we have planned 10 items, but we have just implemented 7 items. 3 items we have not implemented. So monitoring will tell you that there are gaps in the execution, 3 action plan that we did not actually execute. So that gap you can identify. What is the gap between the plan and execution? Is there any change required related to stakeholder engagement, stakeholder identification, stakeholder requirement, stakeholder engagement plan? Anything is required. So that will be produced from this process. All right. And you have to also monitor all the actions you have identified here. Are all the actions effective? Or you have just planned a lot of efforts, lot of actions that are actually not adding any value. So those action items, those are not adding any value in stakeholder engagement, that you have to also identify. And you have to remove those unwanted, or those are not giving any result benefit, that actions you need to remove. Otherwise, this is actually one kind of wastage of your time, of your people's involvement. All right. So these are the actually scope of monitor stakeholder engagement. So let's see what is in the process chart. So what we're trying to actually analyze whether our plan is effective or not. So in manage stakeholder, we just execute, but now we are actually trying to analyze whether is any gap between the plan and execution, or the planning is implemented or not, and is there any chance is required to update our plan to make our process, make our activity more effective related to stakeholder engagement. So similarly, same questions. So what are the main input here in this process? So one is stakeholder engagement plan and stakeholder register. Another very important one is project communications. Project communications means 90% time of project manager is communication. So you have to, one of the important, one of the main tool of stakeholder engagement is communications with the stakeholders. That can be meetings, that can be email, that can be informal conversation, observation. So this is actually project communications. So that is also we need to check whether all the communications are done or not. Is there any gap, and which communication was effective and which was not adding any value. So these three actually main input, and others you will use. And there is new thing we are seeing here, work performance data. Can you remember? I explained this thing, data, information, and knowledge in the first chapter. Data, information, and knowledge. And I have given an example. There are three things we will frequently see in the NPM work in different processes: work performance data, work performance information, and work performance report.
Work performance
So
report.
these three terms we will frequently see. So work performance data, what does it mean? We are actually trying to validate whether our planning is okay or not. Is there any gap? So what actually will help us? The work performance data related to stakeholder engagement. All right. So we'll get a lot of data whether our stakeholder engagement was effective or not. Maybe you will ask someone, you will take feedback, you will converse with someone, and you will understand that there is gap. So all these are actually work performance data related to stakeholder engagement. So that data actually will help you. All right. In every monitor and control process, you will see this work performance data, because that data will give you the information what is happening in the real field. So considering that data, comparing to what? Stakeholder engagement plan, stakeholder register, communications. So comparing that, you can actually find out the gap where improvement is required, right? So this is actually one of the main input here. So stakeholder engagement, stakeholder register, work performance data, and project communications, these four are actually major inputs of this process. All right, one thing you have to take into in your mind, that is when you will see work performance data is input, always you will see in output work performance information. That is second. Can you remember work performance data, then information, right? So when you see in input work performance data, in the output you will see the second thing. That means from that data you are creating actually formalized information. So that's why that is known as work performance information. In some processes you will see work performance information will be input. So when work performance information will be input, you will always see in the output work performance report. Nasser bhai, এটা বুঝতে পারছেন?
জি।
So এটা একটু খেয়াল করতে হবে. So when work performance data is input in a process, always in the output you will see the information, and when work performance information will be as input in any process, you will get work performance report as output. So main output is work performance information here. Another one is actually main output is change request. If any change required of a stakeholder register or communication plan or stakeholder engagement plan, is there any chance, is there any option, a possibility of improving the plan so that our effort will be more effective in terms of stakeholder engagement. Okay, all right. So what are the tools? We are seeing lot of tools here. So let me explain all the tools. One is alternative analysis. What is alternative analysis? As it named actually, if you see the name, alternative analysis. That means we have set plan A, right, for engaging a stakeholder. So we are seeing that plan A is not working. So what we need to do? We need to be actually find a plan B or maybe plan C. All right. So this is actually alternative analysis. You It is always actually suggested in project management or in every management work, when you actually try to find out options of a problem, don't just find out only one solution. Try to find out different solutions. If one solution doesn't work, so that we can easily switch into different solution. So that is actually alternative analysis. All right. So this action didn't work. So now we are going for plan B, plan C. Root cause analysis that we are already discussed. So we have given a lot of effort, but the stakeholder is not engaged, not giving support. He is still at neutral position or unaware position. So what can I do else so that he can come to supportive level? What is the root cause? Why it is not working? So that root cause you have to identify, then you have to give the solution. Stakeholder analysis. Have you seen this? We already discussed this one, stakeholder analysis, where in the identify stakeholder process. So we did the analysis at the first process. Now when we are monitoring, maybe we can do again analysis to find out what is the gap actually. Why our efforts are not working. So that stakeholder analysis can help you again. So the same tool we are using again here. The decision making. So if there is any situation comes where you need to make decision based on some data information. So there are different techniques you can use. One, you can use voting, right? So we are going for option A, B, and C. So you can, if there is conflict on decision, so you can take vote from your team members, which option you guys or my teammates, they actually want or expect. So take that vote and then actually select which decision you should take. So don't take decision by yourself. In some cases, you should take decision and vote from your team members. So that is actually voting. About this voting, detail about this voting we'll discuss in chapter number 5, scope management. This voting technique. There are actually 4 type of voting categories, subcategories. All right. So that we'll discuss in the scope chapter. Next one is multi-criteria decision analysis. Can anyone tell me what is multi-criteria decision analysis? Multi-criteria decision analysis. What we are going to do, we are going to do decision making. And we need to decide. So one of the technique of making decision is multi-criteria decision analysis. Let me give you an example. For example, you are going to recruit one person. So what we do actually, we take written test, right? We take Viva, and in written test, say we take exam in 100 marks, and Viva maybe in 70, and in Viva 30, 20, and in attitude, what? Say 10 marks. So that means these are actually criteria, multi-criteria. When you are going to recruit any employee, we have selected 3 criteria: written exam, Viva, and attitude. And after written, we give marks here, right? And after adding up, we see who are the top persons they have achieved out of 100, how much they got. Say one person got 90, another one got 85 and 80. So if we want to recruit 3 guys, then this multi-criteria decision analysis will help us to find out who are those 3. So these are the criteria. That's why it is known as multi-criteria. Based on that, we can easily make decisions. So our exam system, everywhere in the school, college, and also in the recruitment process, everywhere actually we use multi-criteria decision analysis. So you understood? Clear? So this thing actually we'll see a lot of time. In other areas, we also will use this tool. So if Here you understand. So I think if here you will understand the same thing. I will not discuss that much because already I have discussed here. Then number 3, stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. Can you remember when we are doing planning, we have used this tool, right? We have used this tool. So again, when you are doing manage execution, then after managing execution, we will again assess with that table whether the stakeholder that was actually in the annual situation, annual level, whether he is actually moved to desired level or not. If not, then we have to select option B or option C, or we have to replan. So that will, this assessment matrix table will help us to find out that. And other tools and techniques you see, 4 and 5 and 6, all are actually soft skill, interpersonal skill and team skill. Feedback, the same thing we have used, right? Feedback. Presentations, lot of time you have to provide presentations, right, to your management, to your team. So that is actually a presentation. All right. And what is the status of your stakeholder engagement level? Maybe to the senior management you have to present. So that is presentation. Interpersonal team skill, active listening, very, very important too, right? And we have to listen to understand others. If we only talk and talk, if we don't listen to others, then we cannot actually understand others. So as a project manager, you have to be good listener. Please remember, to be a good leader, you have to be also a good listener to understand your people. Otherwise, you cannot make your people happy and you cannot make a good team. Cultural awareness, we talked already. Leadership, very important. Project manager should be manager, and mostly he should be the leader. Networking, what is networking?
কমিউনিকেট করা স্যার, কমিউনিকেশন তৈরি করা।
Networking. Sometimes we talk no networking. If there is no networking, that means no working. Actually, you are not doing anything. So networking with the people, with the team, with the stakeholder is very, very critical. Not in your project management, it is also true for your social life, for your community, and also for your career, professional life. So please, you have to man the network. You see, those people who are having a strong network, they are actually becoming successful nowadays. So this is true for everywhere. So in project management, that is also true. Political awareness. You have to be politically aware of your, especially in your organization, the power and politics you have to understand. All right. So main output is change request. That means which kind of change request? Stakeholder related change request. Stakeholder engagement plan related change request. Stakeholder register related change request. So this change request is talking about related to mainly stakeholders and plus communications. Is anything we need to update in the communication management plan, because main tool of stakeholder engagement is communication. So if there is any gap in your communication management plan, that you actually need to update if you see the engagement level is not up to the mark. So then you have to actually update the communication management plan. So these change requests actually related to those things. All right, so let me move on. Okay. So we have completed the chapter, huh? So stakeholder engagement, stakeholder management chapter is completed. So we have seen here 4 processes: identify a stakeholder, then plan a stakeholder engagement. Third one is execution, manage stakeholder engagement, and fourth one is monitoring and controlling, monitor stakeholder engagement. So these are the 4 processes, and these 4 processes, please remember, stakeholder management, stakeholder engagement is the key to project success. So throughout the project lifecycle, you have to follow these 4 processes. All right, iteratively, anytime you need. Throughout the lifecycle of the project, these 4 processes will be repeated. Will be repeated throughout the project lifecycle. So today I will actually stop here. All right. So if you have any questions so far I taught today, if you have any questions, you can ask me. I will be here for another 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, confusions, any query, you can ask me. আর আমরা ক্লাসে কোথাও ভিডিও অন করি না, ফলে আসলে আমি ভিডিও অন করলে সবাইকে একটু ইয়া লাগে আর যে আমরা কাছাকাছি আসছি বা ভিজুয়াল ইয়া থাকলে ভালো হয়। Alright, so one guy actually just joined. One guy, na, from Somalian guy. But okay, আর কোনো তাহলে কোশ্চেন আছে?